Erika, I'll start with you because you're the founding president of the UCP, so you lived through that merger that ended the PC party, or so we thought. What do you think of this potential re-emergence?
You know what? I think it's going to get some oxygen for a couple weeks, but I don't think that it's going to turn into what the UCP did. I was a member of both legacy parties, and I can say I'm pretty glad that the PC elitism is no longer with us, and I don't think it's making a comeback.
Okay, that said, this can't be good news for the UCP, right? I mean, you got two former MLAs who are chirping from the sidelines, including a former cabinet minister who quit on a matter of principle, now starting what sounds like it could be a familiar party. You got to admit that's not good news for the governing party.
You know what? I don't think it's good news. I don't think the Republican Party of Alberta was good news just for conservatives alike, because there's maybe more confusion out there. But I will say I'm pretty confident it's not going to have any of our UCP premier or cabinet ministers or caucus losing sleep at night. I do really respect, on a personal note, both Pete Guthrie and Scott Sinclair. I just think that this is maybe a little bit more about them getting some oxygen because they were independents than I think it's going to turn into, you know, what I lived through of the Wild Rose fracturing off and then the merger of the parties. I just don't think it's going to last through the summer months.
Okay. We'll get into a little bit more on that in a second, but first, Sabrina, I want to get you in there. It was a pretty potent brand, right? In Alberta, the PCs had a 44-year dynasty, but by the end, it had become known for more of its sense of entitlement and elitism, as Erika says, than good government. Are these two MLAs making a mistake in choosing this name for a new party?
I don't think so. I think that brand name is still strong. And I think if you said it to, 100 Albertans, I think 90 would know what that brand name is. And I think they would identify with the party. And not only would they identify with like understanding the party name and brand, I think they might reminisce and maybe identify with some of those party values. I think a lot of people who voted Conservative, and there were a lot of them, did have hope that Danielle Smith would be somebody who was responsible for governance and actually wanted to govern and do good things in this province. And it hasn't really panned out that way. She's picked a lot of niche issues. She's broken a lot of things without a plan to fix them. And so I think, there's a longing for people to maybe see what else is out there. And unfortunately, the NDP isn't really filling that void effectively right now. So maybe the PCs could revive. Anything can happen in Alberta, I think, is my general sense of politics here.
Okay, still yet to be determined whether these two will be able to register with that exact name. That's up to Elections Alberta. And Danielle Smith kind of chafed at the prospect of the Progressive Conservative being on the ballot. Mm-hmm. I do want to talk about the big elephant in the room, though, whether this could lead to a vote split, a fracturing of the vote on the right, Erika, and the potential, obviously, of the NDP coming up the middle and winning as it did in 2015. What do you think?
You know what? I want to address what you said earlier about the feasibility of this. I was actually quite surprised because when I was the founding president, I was also the president of the PCs and the Wild Rose because they were still political entities. We ran candidates in the 2019 election to continue on with that ability. And there is a bill that was introduced in 2020 by the UCP government that allows or disallows for like-minded or similar name parties. And so in this case, I'm actually surprised that this has even been entertained to get its signatures by Elections Alberta, and maybe they'll let them do their work and then say you can't use this name because it is confusing. And as someone that's door knocked for the CPC, for the UCP, for the PCs at one point, people still call the UCP the PCs. And so I do think, to your question about vote splitting, I think it's actually just more confusion for Albertans, not that I think that they're going to be necessarily choosing the PC brand, because if you ask those gentlemen what part of their platform, I know it's early, is going to be progressive, they're not addressing the issues that even on the Ryan Jesperson show he asked were probably more top of mind progressive issues. So I think that they're running under probably the wrong banner, and also that it is, to your point, could cause a vote split because of the closeness of the name, and also the fact that they're not really running under a progressive conservative banner. It looks so far.
What do you think about the potential for vote splitting on the center right, Sabrina?
Well, I think you now have a number of conservative factions that seem displeased with both each other and with Danielle Smith, right? We have this Wild Rose separatist Republican faction that emerged in the old Three Hills by-election. Now we have this progressive conservative party. And I think irrelevant or irrespective of what their name is when they actually run, if they do end up putting the name on the ballot, I think the question is going to be, the ballot question that they're going to try and ask is, do you like what Danielle Smith and the United Conservatives are doing? If not, vote for this person. And I think that that's a question that could take off and could have resonance. And it really will depend on how strongly Nenshi makes the case for people to park their vote with him and with the NDP if they don't like what the UCP is about.
Before we move on to Nenshi, do you think the whole point of this exercise for these two, Erika, is to play the part of spoiler?
I would say that they don't say it is. They've been asked multiple times. I think sometimes in politics it comes down to ego or attention and the ability to say, aha, I got you. We own this PC brand to get airwaves. So I don't think that they're trying to get a vote split because I don't think they're going to get enough traction if they even become something.
All right.
But I think it's more about them. And listen, I don't think everything the UCP does is great. I am very critical where I think it should be critical. But what they're talking about is a lot of things that the UCP's still core values speak to, of fiscal constraint and things like that. So I think by the time we get to the election, they're going to be, again, it's not even going to, it's just this idea of this PC revitalization is just going to be something that political hacks joke about.
And NDP, let's end on that note, Sabrina, because you've raised it a couple of times. I mean, this is the party that's been courting the old PC voters, right? People who didn't feel like you had a home under the UCP tent. Do you think this could actually hurt the NDP?
I think if it was to take off, certainly it could. I think people have, certainly moved quite far to the NDP, especially in Calgary. We saw a lot of those swing seats, a lot of those battles here in the province. Or here in the city. But I think the ultimate question that especially Calgarians ask themselves when they vote, and I think Calgary is going to be a big battleground, part of the next election, is who is going to help my pocketbook? And so if the NDP can answer that question, and it's not just about taxes, I think it's about affordability, it's about education, it's about healthcare, all of those things, can make your pocketbook. If the NDP can answer that question really well, with Naheed entering the House now, the legislature, sorry, I think that they will retain their strength, but I think that this is a threat for sure.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Tight for time. Thank you, you two. Happy Stampede.